Hi, this is Dave Fankhauser, and we're over in Niota today, and we're talking to some strong people that are part of the history for 44 years in Niota, and it's Dan and Gayle Fisher. And I'm over here to interview them to actually talk about what their future dreams are for Niota. But I think it would be really important that we jump back a little bit, because Gayle's got some history that she'd like to talk about. And then we'll start with the history, and then Dan would like to talk about the future, and then we're going to talk about what dreams we're going to see for Niota and its future. So, Gayle?
Thank you, Dave. Yes, Niota has a long history. Niota was part of the Hiwassee land purchase from the Indians, and because it was such a beautiful place with water and lots of land, good land, we have lots of Civil War homes here. Pre-Civil War homes. And so on top of that, we have Harry T. Burns. He's one of our claim to fame. He was elected to the legislature when he was 22 years old. And they were trying to enact in 1920 the 19th Amendment. And so he went off to Nashville to vote. He voted twice against allowing women's suffrage the right to vote. But he received a letter from his mother, and she said, please, please vote for women's suffrage. And so he changed his vote. And when he changed his vote, 27 million women in America got the right to vote that day. So Harry T. Burns is one of our claims to fame, and he lived here in Niota and is buried here. Also, we have the oldest railroad station standing depot in the state of Tennessee. It was in 1854, and we've had the preservation committee come in and redo that, and so it's just been a real treat to have the railroad depot fixed back up. We have our city hall in it, and it's a wonderful thing for our community. And we also have one more thing, and that was in 1988 we had all women as our municipality. It was the only one in the entire United States that had nothing but women in it, in city government. And when that happened, we had both Good Morning America and NPR come to Niota to look at our ladies, and they were called the Golden Girls. So we have been so fortunate to live here for 44 years, and we have seen the area, the city change. It was when we moved here, downtown was all retired people. Now they're dead. And in the meanwhile, we have had more and more young people move in. So now when you drive through Niota, you see strollers in the yard, you see bicycles leaned against the porches, and we have a wonderful, wonderful revitalization of downtown.
Well, Gayle, that's really good stuff, and I didn't do this at the beginning, but I think it's very appropriate to do it now. But Gayle is the mother of 5 children and 7 grandchildren. She's a master gardener. She's an author and publisher. She's a feature writer for many publications. She's a CASA advocate, and I'm sure most of you know what that is. To go into the court and help someone who really has no one to assist them. And she does that as a volunteer. So it's an incredible organization. It's all across the country. And Gayle happens to be one of the people that's fortunate enough to think about other people and does something to assist them. She's a grandmother, as I mentioned, and I was thinking about her this morning before we started this, and the thought that came to mind was that wisdom is at her doorstep. And for people who sort of read the Bible in Proverbs at the end, that the last part of it is 31, and Gayle is a Proverbs 31 woman. She has wisdom at her doorstep. Well, Dan, on the other hand, is an interesting fellow. He was a young boy, and he decided he was going to go around his little community, and he was interested in coin collecting. And so he went around to all the merchants and neighbors and knocked on the doors and asked them if they had any old coins. So every Saturday morning he was out doing that as a little boy. And what's amazing to me was that he had faith already to do something in a community, and he got the cooperation of people to assist him as a little boy with a hobby that he had that turned into something that was very beneficial later in his life when they happened to be in a situation where starting a family and not having money, they needed money. And so that coin collection actually became food later on in their life. So everything that you do, while you might not think it's important, as small as it is, actually has a big impact in a life. Well, Dan happens to be a college grad in accounting. He's got a master's degree. He's a CPA. He headed a large plastics plant here in the area. He has a PhD from Oxford University. Probably in the top 0.5%, if not even 0.1% of the people in the world have a degree from Oxford. It's just the hallmark of all education is in that university. That he is an entrepreneur, he's a land developer, a Sunday school teacher, a college professor, obviously a husband and a father to 5 successful children, and probably the most important part of his whole life was the person that started this all out, and that was Gayle, his wife. And so anyway, Dan sits here quietly as the wisdom man next to his wise wife, and we're fortunate enough now to hear what Dan has to say about the future of Niota.
Well, as Dave said, I'm kind of glad I have Gayle because she's been the one thing that has guided me for the last 48 years now. And we're very lucky to have lived in Niota, raised our children here, and now our grandchildren love coming back here. So it's quite a nice place. And Lois Priest, who's the current mayor, has done an excellent job of taking a city and turning it into a much more beautiful place than it was beforehand. And I see that happening more and more and hope that it does. To me, probably the most important thing is education of our children. We have the growingest grammar school in McMinn County, and I want every child to have a chance to be a success. Not just some, but every one of them. Gayle and I are both mentors on the Tennessee Promise program, and we in the state of Tennessee, believe it or not, Tennessee, have one of the most advanced educational systems in the United States through this program that we have. And it has worked extremely well. We're getting our education levels much higher than other southern states because of it. But the plans that I see that might work for Niota is the rejuvenation of Main Street. And we're doing that with the mural for Harry Byrne, the beautification of the depot, taking older buildings and fixing them, making sure everything is neat and attractive to anybody that may come through here. We probably need a grocery store with some fresh fruit, fresh meat, fresh vegetables. That would help. And we could use some more tourism, which always brings money in. And McMinn County now has a program that they have started, and Middle Tennessee State University has put 2 of the flyers in for Niota. And so what we're doing is attempting to bring change in a very positive manner, offending no one, just making it a better place for everybody to live in every manner that they can. So that is what I see happening in the future.
Gayle, what are your thoughts about the future? What would you be, if you would have a dream for Niota, what would it be? What would you add to what Dan placed in your thoughts? What would you want for your grandchildren? Let's say they would all come to Niota and they would be here. So what would it be?
Well, they already have a park. They've got a park started. We have a skating rink. We have lots of churches. We have lots of things that are positive. But one thing would be, as he said, beautification. We've been lacking that in that we've let the city run down, and now we're working to get it built back up again. And so that would be the main thing, was so that we could be proud. When we did the Harry T. Byrne mural in Niota, the city school came over. This is before the COVID. The city school came over. And when they told them that this had happened, that the right to vote had occurred here for women's suffrage, one of the children stood up and said, "Oh, that happened in my town."
And so, to a great extent, you've had 44 years of instilling pride in Niota, and you'd like to see that continue.
Absolutely.
And
Fully believe that it will.
yes, and with education and quality of life and all the things that build a community, you have been addressing for, well, almost a half a century.
Right. We just, 2 years ago in 2019, well, I guess just 1 year ago, in 2019, there was no child care in Niota for after school. So we worked together with a group, and the YMCA then agreed to come and pick up these children and have a YMCA fun camp here in Niota. So this was the first time. We didn't even have a church that was taking care of children after school. And you know, with today's world, so many parents are having to work, both parents.
Right.
Grandparents have taken on lots of children that they maybe didn't need to take on, but have. And so now this was a very positive thing that we had some after-school care here in Niota, and I'm hoping that it will continue once this crisis is over.
And I want to add one thing about community. Our house burned in the year 2000, and it was the local people that showed up. There were 5 different fire departments from the area showed up, of course, Niota being the first. The next morning, we had Jim Bob show up and start tearing out stuff and getting ready for us. I watched at Builder Supply. Back then, other local groups came and helped us, showed up, just brought things to us. And that's what a community does. And having a community is so important when you compare it to living in a city, if you will. We even get to hear a train go by, and the Methodist Church rings the bell at 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock, which I love. And so it's a wonderful thing to be a part of a community.
Well, we have had a big announcement with the train rolling through, and that obviously is an important part of commerce. And the railroads were actually, the Niota Railroad Station was, like you said, the first one in the area.
It's the oldest.
Oldest in the
Oldest
area.
standing, yes. And all the information back when the train, people would go to the train station and read a newspaper 2 or 3 days old and ask people where they'd been and what they'd seen. So it was a great communication tool to have a stop in Niota.
Yeah. Well, actually, to sort of sum up this opportunity to talk to the Fishers, I would like to thank them, first of all, for your dreams and your hopes for the community and for the future and our grandchildren. As you can see, I'm not the youngest dude in the earth. And so it's all really about the kids. What can we do for their future? And in our stage of life, it's to make that happen. And Dan and Gayle have dreams for the future for Niota, and I want to fulfill their dreams. That's why I'm running for the state legislature. It really is about each of our communities, whether they're Niota or Riceville or Athens or Von Orr or Madisonville or Tellico Plains, Englewood and Etowah. It's about helping everybody understand that it's teamwork together in our 2 counties to fulfill the future for the people that haven't any idea what's going to happen, but we will already be thinking about them today. So have a great day, and I appreciate you tuning in, and we'll be back with another video soon. Thank you. Really appreciate your support and help.
Thank you.
Fun.